This is a haulage. This used to have fans sitting here and it drawed the air in and out of the mines. Well, that hole right there, we've been checking this water for a year and it ain't went down or nothing. Here,
Yeah.
that's a 300-foot shaft. We're getting ready to go look at one now that they were ordered to do this to. There's shafts in this area that's just open. You can just walk right in, throw somebody over in it.
Then they got more shafts.
Yeah.
Here they got.
And for the audience, the shaft goes down to
The mines.
the mines. Yeah.
Yep, they had big fans sitting here. That used to stay froze right there. When them fans would blow out, it was always froze. The ponds are right there. They come down and they come into these ponds and they filtered it and they put it in the creek. That's what they should have done up there because they had a year to prepare for it and they didn't do it.
So,
Nobody wanted to spend the money.
So how could this, all the way about a mile from the creek, be contaminating the creek
Well,
or the aquifer?
they saying this right here is this whole big mines is filled up with water, and it's artesian down there. But the people the engineers that shut the mines down and the DEP, which is the Environmental Protection Agency, said all their analysts, all their data said it would come out here. It would come out here. Or they left boreholes for it to come out. It didn't come out here. It come out down Jamie's, and they couldn't explain it. They went into court and said, well, it could be this, could be that, but then nobody could explain it. That's why we don't think the water's coming from here.
Right.
And we're going to take you up there.
And also, if the water was coming up here, you'd kind of see signs maybe of flooding too.
Right. It should have came out here. But all the experts said it would come out here when the mines filled up. Within 5 to 7 years after shutting down. It never come out here.
And how long has this mine been shut down?
Since 2017. I think they filed bankruptcy.
It's about 6, 7 years.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, but like I said, there's 2 shafts like this right here, but it's open. And somebody's took the fence down, and and they were ordered in court last month to concrete these over where kids can't fall down in there. There's 3 shafts, and put fence around them and stuff. And we're going to go look at one now, and I bet they ain't even started on it. They're supposed to cover that shaft.
So what is this in front of us?
That's the same thing we were standing on right there. That's how deep it is.
Wow.
They were ordered to do this in court, so somebody has done it. There's ponds over there. They filtered all this water back when the mines was working and put it in the creek, which was good. I mean, the water was good, and the creek flowed all the time. 4 months ago, that creek dried up. It was bone dry. So we think they busted an aquifer down in Raccoon Holler, which is down below Jamie's. And that's where all the water went. Now it's filled back up. Now the creeks are flowing.
So if you have this issue that seems widespread of abandoned mines, also abandoned oil wells.
Gas wells.
Gas wells, excuse me. Theoretically, or perhaps not theoretically, they could be leaking. Both sets could be leaking into the groundwater or the aquifer.
Well, what I think's happened is the water's coming out because of the mines flooded, or water's been redirected by certain people in the mines. And the gas wells, I think they use stuff to clean them, but the mine pool under us is so huge and so full, everything you put down in it is coming out now. And they're gonna have to quit putting stuff down in the ground if you want the creeks to clear out.
And is that pool of water in these abandoned mines, that's just happening from the water just sitting for years?
They turned the pumps off. When they went bankrupt, they didn't have no money to run the pumps. When they were running the pumps, pumping the water out of the mines, putting it in these ponds and then flowing them into the creek, everything was fine. But as soon as they went bankrupt, they had it's called a Puma. They had it out there, the engineers did, said within 5 to 7 years, this would flood.
And that's key, because when those mines either go bankrupt or abandoned, by law, including federal law, there's supposed to be reclamation of those mines, meaning clean up, put it back to what it was before. We know the governor, who's now running for Senate, Jim Justice, owes, I mean, the numbers are all over the place, but a couple $100 million just in unpaid reclamation costs.
Right.
So the point of those laws is to make sure stuff like this doesn't happen.
Right. And when our delegate went to the House floor, the leader of the House floor in the state, he asked them, and they said, well, there should be money here for this. And I don't think there was. I'd have to ask him again, but you know, they spend it as fast as they get it, I guess. And like I said, this is a poor community, so they overlook this area.
Right.
You know, you go to Charleston, all the money from here always goes up north. Most money comes out of this area because of the coal industry.
Right.
But it always seems to find its way up north.
And I want to ask you again, you had mentioned this, but I guess somebody from the EPA, the federal EPA, had mentioned to you, basically, you know, for the greater good of the economy, sometimes they have to sacrifice.
Yes, Mr. Christian was with me when they said that.
What they say exactly?
I kind of had to ask him. I mean, he kind of told me that 4 or 5 deaths, they take the 150 jobs in the mines, they take that into consideration when they, you know, go after the mines for certain things. And I'm like, now, what did you just say to me? And Mr. Christian vouched for that, because I couldn't believe he said it. But if you sit back and you look over the years by living here, that's probably true.
Yeah, but besides the moral depravity of that, it's not just 4 or 5, because what they're doing, people might not be dying this minute, but you're going to cause cancer and other things in 5 years, 10 years.
That was my argument to him. Wait a minute here. You know, I use that analogy, if your daughter married a kid from, you know, and all of a sudden he dies and you're stuck, and you're not going to see this problem until 20 or 30 years. You've seen it all over the country. Yeah. I mean, I'm sure the water crisis in Flint, Michigan, 10 years from now, you're going to see the effects.
Well, right now, it happened 10 years ago, and now cancer's through the roof there.
Well, what do you think's going to happen here?
Yeah.
What I'm finding out here over the last few days about surging cancer rates. Cancer is through the roof here.
My sister-in-law just died. She died, it's probably been maybe 3 months. It was like September. I guess it's been a little longer than 3 months, but it was like in September. But she died in like a week. Like, she found out she had she was coughing up blood, and then they told her, you know, she was going to have to come back for a test. And before she could even come back for the test, she's in the hospital dying, actively dying, because this cancer that she had no idea about has just spread all over her body.
In a week.
And however, I mean, it might not have been 7 days, but it was definitely under a month. And she just died. And she was young.
You know,
and Jamie is sick?
Jamie's sick. You can tell he's leaning over. There's a lot of people you're going to meet today that's got blisters on them. They have no choice but to shower in the water.
And when you shower, have you noticed anything in terms of smell?
Yeah, and it feels oily. My water's just now starting to smell from it, though. Smells like rotten eggs.
And you said when the water touches you, it feels oily?
It feels oily.
It's hard to breathe it. It's hard. I don't even like turning it on to wash my clothes.
I just don't know what they're going to do.
The water we showered in down at Twin Falls, that's what, 20 minutes down the road? It smelled a little bit there.
Well,
and that's a resort.
Well, now, I had people call me because they started getting letters that they're going to mine in that area too. Another mines. And they wanted me to check into it, and I told them I was too busy for this right now. But yeah, that community probably does need to check and see if they're going to get mined under. The coal industry probably back here doesn't need any more regulations. It just needs somebody to enforce them.
Right.
And they're not enforcing them. They're too worried about if they're going to get in trouble if they don't test the water right, or like the foam. They told the people down the creek that it was natural. Well, I had to test it. It's not natural.
Right.
And then they didn't like when the people got angry with them when they come out and said, well, wait a minute, that's not natural, you know. You need to watch this guy's video, and you need to get with him, and they don't like nobody telling them what to do.
Right.
And And boy, they need it, trust me.
But I think people watching should realize, I'm not trying to scare anybody, but the reality is it might look like it's just a local Wyoming County problem, but that creek that's contaminated runs into the Wyandotte River, a tributary, and then into the Ohio River. Ohio River serves 5 million people drinking water.
Yep.
So it might not, by the time it gets to the Ohio River, it might not be as contaminated as is here, but it's not like the contamination just stops at the line
Right.
going into the Ohio River. So you could potentially have contamination going into a massive drinking water source.
Exactly. Like I said, it might take 20 years, but you're going to see the effects of this if they don't come in here and fix this stuff. Do I think they can fix it? No. I think it's done got out of hand on them. Hope they can fix it, but it looks to me like it's got out of hand on them.
And can you talk about, I didn't know this, but a lot of this land in this county is owned by the governor.
Mm-hmm.
So residents who have been getting sick, nausea, vomiting, diarrhea, headaches, some people are suddenly dying. We don't know of what.
He was Harlan. We just passed his house, and I told you that his well blew up on him, 3rd-degree burns. And then he had some kind of respiratory thing happen, and he was gone. Then he passed away about 2 weeks ago, maybe.
Seems to me like they're just kind of, I don't know, sacrificing this community. Who knows whether it's the gas or coal? You don't exactly know who's contaminating, but
All I know is they're making the rich richer and the poor poorer. They don't care nothing about no little people like us.
But a lot of them are afraid to speak out because technically their land is, they don't own it, the governor owns it.
Well, all they got to do is tell you got 30 days to move off. There's some people right down the road that had to move off in 30 days and they had no place to go. I mean, that's the nature of the beast when you lease, you know.
And the governor is a multimillionaire and he owns the land, so if you start speaking out about...
He could possibly run you off.
Right.
Now, has he done it? Not that I know of. But once again, when somebody starts taking responsibility for the least little thing, then they're going to say, hey, wait a minute, you did it all. And they're just, like I said, they're pointing fingers, and it's been in litigation. And in the meantime, we're being poisoned.
Right.
Now, the judge seems to be pretty knowledgeable about the coal industry, and I think he's really put the screws to them this time and say, you got to fix something. And we're going to go look at the stuff they're supposed to fix by April the 2nd, or they better have a good reason why they didn't.
Right.
And 2 more weeks, they're not fixing anything. So it looks like it's going to continuously keep going. You know, they're just fighting each other.
Right.
And
to be clear, Jamie, whose house we originally showed the well, they're getting sick just from the smell. Mm-hmm. Not even drinking from that well. It's just the smell.
Right.
I smelled it yesterday, and it's beyond rotten eggs. It's sulfur and some other stuff. So this is stinks to the high heavens, smelly, like rotten eggs with an extra punch.
Yeah.
And see those kind of white splotches?
Right there is the stringy stuff. See it? It's
And
coming right out from under there.
It's coming right from the groundwater there.
Well, imagine when it's 100 degrees outside.
Yeah.
And the wind's blowing.
Yeah.
You can't stand to be there. His grandkids don't come around anymore, and I think they've been to his house 3 times in a year. He won't let them come over because they're, you know, he don't want to get them sick. A lot of people's like that, and you're going to see them today.
Yeah.
You know, like I said, you're going to see blisters. I have people send me pictures every day of blisters on them, on their arms, their hands, their legs, their feet.
That's from showering in the
yeah.
well water? Yeah.
Yeah. And then we're going to meet a couple here in a little while that the same artesian well come out in their basement, and it's still there.
An artesian well, for the audience, that's an abandoned one?
That's the well that we were filming it yesterday. When they took the pipe out.
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
like
yeah.
this. When it starts coming out here, they'll call that an artesian well, but you know they yanked the pipe out.
Right.
But there was one down Indian Creek. A boy had noticed back in April or May, because the DEP's theory was it never could get towards Indian Creek, but we did find it in Indian Creek at 3 or 4 different places, and we have videos, but they never would answer. Every time we tell them there's something going on, they'll say, well, it's open investigation. Hold on.
Wow. Let me just ask you, I mean, you're born and bred, you were baptized there in the creek. This is a beautiful state. I mean, John and I were driving through and it's breathtaking. The mountains, the creeks. It could be so much better than this, but it seems that they're just sacrificing certain areas that, I mean, Wyoming County, the average income for an individual, I think, is about 25,000.
And I think
Maybe.
the life expectancy is a lot lower in this area too. It's been that way for decades.
You think they're just kind of certain dots on the map? They're not.
I think the people in this community, in this county, and McDowell County has been beaten down so much and been told they have to live this way that they don't know any other way to live. That's what I think. I think they're starting to figure it out, though. I really believe that. I really believe me showing them the results and proving that they put poison in your creek and deliberately done it and knew they were doing it. I think that woke a lot of people up in this area, you know.
Right.
I mean, even if it wasn't poison, by the DEP's laws, if it looks slimy, oily, or smells, you're not supposed to put it in state water. So they can't use the excuse they tested and it was okay. Just by their regulations, they were not supposed to put that in the creek. But now, will there be any accountability? Probably not, you know. I think they should be. I think some people should go to jail for what they did down here.
Yeah.
You know, but will they? Probably not.